coming up next on In the Box Seat
I
podcast.
remember that was like unreal. Wow. And now, as a child, you're obviously more starstruck, but I still certainly do not take for granted that I'm dealing with a man who interacts frequently with, the President of America.
He's humble, he's talented, he's KZN's champion trainer. Gareth Van Zyl is our guest for today's podcast. But before we meet and greet Gareth, my co-host, as always, Ravi Krishna, how are you today?
Very good, thanks. And yourself, Warren? Excited to hear about Gareth's previous season and, of course, on his way to become KZN Champion Trainer. Was awarded a couple of weeks back at the KZN Awards. So good to have Gareth here with us. And Gareth, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thanks, Real. Springtime is a lovely time of the year. With the blooming of flowers in the gardens, is also, you see the change in horses' coats and they come well. And it's just, it's lovely to see the life being rejuvenated and renewed in nature, which we're able to work with, which is great.
I want to start our discussion, Gareth, with talking to you about running a racing operation, because the public sometimes think, it's just a one-man show. You arrive, the races are miraculously in the parade ring, but it's nowhere near that. It takes a lot of doing. And let's open up the conversation with explaining to the public what goes on behind the scenes for a massive business like yours.
Yeah, or in a perfect world, I'd be able to just work with horses. And, sometimes people will come to Summerfelt and say, oh, you're so lucky. And we are. I try hard not to take it for granted that, my office as such is the most beautiful, picturesque place at Summerfelt. And that's what, really is the purest part of it. But as you say, with regards to being a trainer and keeping the balls in the air, it's not as simple as that. You start with a client.
Yes.
And then from there, you source the product, you source staff, you've got feed merchants, you've got vets, you've got farriers. And as the business grows, of course, it becomes a little bit more complicated. More staff, more issues, more clients, more needs to accommodate. And you obviously just can't do everything, and you need a team to help you. And ultimately, my team needs to allow me the opportunity to keep my eyes on the horses. And that can be the challenging part, because there's a lot of distractions. And nowadays, with the pressure that's on us from technology, when I say pressure that's on us, there's a bit of pressure for us to keep up to date with regards to taking videos and pictures and giving feedback. And I would rather be feeling a horse's legs or back than taking a picture or a video. But you've got to juggle it all, and it's not always easy, but certainly rewarding. And when we take a step back and just breathe in and look at the spring, as I mentioned to start with, it's wonderful. It's a privilege to be able to do the job, and you take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
This previous season was special for a few reasons, and the 2 points I'd like to touch on is, obviously you were down in the West Cape, so your dad steered the ship for half of the season, and then you decided to come back, and then obviously having a six-timer, which was something that put your name in the record books. But to touch on your dad and your relationship throughout the previous season.
Yeah, so that has all been key to having a successful relocation back again. Importantly, we didn't close down in KZN when, I suppose it might start with regards to why. I might have gone to Cape Town and what, kind of enticed me. I liked what I saw from Race Cape, and, the rejuvenation of racing there was enticing. Unfortunately, I see it now in hindsight. I had taken for granted where I was, and maybe got a little bit bored as such. I ventured to, I looked at a possibility in Mauritius, which, I stepped away from quite quickly. And then the opportunity in Cape Town was presented to me. Greg Bortz actually had a chat with me and suggested, why don't you come and apply your trade here? And I said, well, yeah, Cape Town as a place. Spoke to my wife, the family, and we took a big jump. But as I was saying, importantly, racing, it's a different kind of a business, and it's not just easily transferable. Obviously was aware of that then, but more so now. However, our clientele was largely Durban-based, and we were kind of swimming upriver in thinking that was, going to be transferable. Yes, we had hoped to build more, attract more clients there, and we had moderate success in that. But my dad put his hand up and said, he used to keep this thing going. It's not my fault. We kept the same yard, which is a yard that's probably we're lucky to be in, as they all have their own characters, and it's a really nice yard, and we were able to keep it, and serviced clients from KZN, and ultimately having that was our saving grace.
Funnily enough, when we drove past this morning, we had to go and attend to something. And what did you say as we drove past?
He's got the best yard at Summerveld.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's a gorgeous.
Yeah, I don't want to say it myself, but thank you.
Peaceful and tranquil, it certainly is.
We've put a lot of effort into also recently doing the gardens and a bit of landscaping work, and just trying to, one little bit at a time, just liven the place up a little, the yard up, without breaking the bank.
But that's important though, because, it's the same as an office space. You spend most of your time there. Then when you're at home, you want to make your home as comfortable and as attractive as possible. And you work all day there and into the night. You want to make it as attractive as possible. Same as us with our offices. You make your office nice, put flowers in. You want to be comfortable. You're there most of the day. But yeah, so Dad, let's elaborate on him a bit, because we'd sit here for 5 hours if we talked about his career. But what a comforting thing it must be to know that he's backing you and he's behind you.
Yeah, absolutely. Warren, he holds obviously a lot of respect in the industry.
Yes.
Which I'm able to also benefit from. He's got relationships that go back to the 70s, I think it is, and to bring that into the business, it's I could never do that. It's just something that, is a privilege to have. So, yeah, it's really great to have him on board, and it works both ways now. He obviously had his stroke. I think it might be 3 years ago, which affected, I suppose how he wants to structure his days, and the pressure that he wants to tolerate. Because you touched on it in the beginning with what it takes, and it is pressure. Keeping the balls in the air, it can be very pressurizing, because the product that we have, the nature of it is nobody goes to a sale. We might have 300 horses at a sale and puts up their hand at whatever price, thinking that they're going to be doing their Tom a year or two down the line. But statistically, the odds are stacked against us, and people know that. But dealing with the reality of that it's varied. So, he's enjoying his role, and I'm enjoying having him. But yeah, and I don't for a minute take it for granted that I'm elevated by having him, and a life spent in the industry to support me. And he's definitely my biggest. Well, I don't want to say definitely, but my wife might get offended, but maybe he's my most vocal fan, and it's great to have him.
Was it easy to retain some of the clients once he had decided to call it quits?
Not long-term, Rahil, but most of them were very accommodating. Some were just polite and let the horses run their course and move on. But a good percentage of them put their weight behind us still, and for that we're thankful. That, when I say good percentage, I don't want to mention names because I'm going to forget someone, but there are quite a core of them which are now a key part of my business also.
You mentioned pressure, absolutely, and to realize that you're dealing with a live animal that is always moving, always eating, blood's pumping. They don't. Of course, they rest in the stables, I understand, but you're dealing with livestock, and that's times by how many horses you've got. That's just a pressure on its own.
Absolutely, and we never want something to go wrong with our livestock. But as the saying goes, when you've got livestock, you've got dead stock too. So, we try to avoid all of that. But thankfully, we got, clients who are understanding mostly. So, the way that the client, takes to these type of stressful scenarios and unfortunate scenarios, it rubs off on us quite a lot. Even as much as running a race, watching a race being run, we could have a runner and, we might be watching together and have expectations, and it's wonderful to celebrate together. But, when the horse doesn't run as anticipated, you kind of, you're vulnerable to how your client's going to react. And that's a part that you've got to deal with. But as I was saying, thankfully, mostly we've got understanding clients and who know the game and who respect us also, because there's got to be an element of respect whereby when things go wrong, it's not just
fun fight. It's just another. Talking of clients and patrons, and you've got many of them, but two in particular that I'd like to highlight, because he told his story with us the other day, is of course Ravi Piachi and King Pals. And your sponsors, Hollywood Bets, have also got behind you in a big way, as have each and every one of your owners that are so valuable to the stable. But let's reflect on Ravi and on Hollywood.
Yeah, Warren. So, Ravi Piachi comes not just as one, but with Keanu, and Keanu's long-time girlfriend now, Kiona, Mags or Des, and his daughter Renalia, and the rest, which for me is it's wonderful, to be able to share in their relationship. They're just a wonderful family, and that's one of the things that I certainly appreciate in my trade, is that as a racehorse trainer, we receive personal exposure to, great people who we would never otherwise have the privilege of interacting with, So people open their doors, sometimes homes, hearts, whatever it might be, at what level it might be. But in this situation, in discussing Ravi and his family, it's just a wonderful friendship and relationship that we're blessed to be able to enjoy. And the thing which is most significant to me about him as a person, King Pals has come alive now the last couple of months, but he had quite a while whereby things weren't very good.
Okay.
And the way that he dealt with that was unique, in that there's obviously, nobody likes, if you call it a round number of 10 horses. If someone's got 10 horses and you're paying, it's more than 100,000 Rand a month, maybe it's close to 150 grand a month. No one likes to be paying that, which is a heck of a lot of money. I say it quickly, but without getting something in return.
Yeah.
You want stakes money, you want to get a little bit of something. So, no matter how much money a person has, my opinion, I imagine, it's not pleasant just writing out that check when there's zero.
Yeah.
Not so balancing. And he went through times where not much was coming in, and he took it so well and didn't put pressure on me. And for me, that marks a man with purest of the sport, understands the sport, and gentleman, and makes him so deserving of whatever success might come. So yeah, touching on him, I could go on further, and we don't know what the future has to hold, but the present and what we've had has been rich, and I'll always be thankful that he's been such an integral part of our lives. You mentioned Hollywood racing. If we can mention Hollywood Bets, Hollywood racing, and starts with the late Carl Johnson.
How he's missed.
Yeah, terribly. I love giving him a mention. He was a great character of the game and friend to all that knew him, that type of a guy. And he was in the yard one day, and I was like, gee, man, this horse here is on the online sale, and I don't want to lose her. And I didn't think much of it, but we were just talking as mates, like, probably going to lose her, didn't have a buyer. Like, well, why don't you speak to Owen? I'm like, me speak to Owen? Like, you've got that relationship. I'm like, yeah, like, nice idea, Johnny. I mean, anyway, he said, okay, let me see what I can do. And, Owen said to Carl, we'll pass it by Anthony. And then Anthony got in touch with me, and they bought the filly. Her name was Candy Galore. And from there, we had success with her. It was a successful acquisition. And a few other horses that weren't doing too well came in, and we had success. And, they're an operation that are obviously massive, and they look at numbers. And I suppose, the numbers were in my favor, and we grew from there. And, it's just, as I said in my speech at the awards of the night, it's just wonderful to be a part of that family. I don't feel like it's an umbrella, but more of a family. Sure. Because, when you're taken in under their wing, then comes the sponsorships, then comes the opportunities to elevate your product. And without having them as a client and a sponsor, we certainly would be at a far worse off position personally as a business. I mean, we can touch on them with regards to the bigger racing product, with regards to how they've injected life. Ultimately, talking as a trainer, we need, and the industry needs, to attract young professionals who are competent and who are going to be an asset to the industry, as they would be an asset to other industries as well. So why racing instead of becoming an engineer or whatever else they want? Okay, yes, there's different dynamics, but at the end of the day, people want to have the opportunity to earn a reasonable, if not even above average. Why not be ambitious and hope to have a nice car, a nice house? And, where racing was heading, there was no nice car, there was no nice house. It was, let's just survive and have bread on the table.
Yeah.
But, the incentive that was given to the grooms started with 1,000 Rand per winner, then 2. I went to Cape Town. That's where it started with regards to your appearance fees. You're getting, however much it was, I think we're getting 750 Rand now a runner. But then the incentives continued to accumulate, and then they would help with rent, and then it would be this and that. And anyway, accumulatively, the opportunity that they've given us as professionals has been, I would imagine it's kept people in the country. I wouldn't want to speak for anyone who might have come back, but I don't think people would have come back if it wasn't for such opportunities, and yeah, to have that type of a power, that type of a mentality, and that type of a people behind us. And the fact that you have the opportunity of engaging with the heifers, as I referred to previously, it's really absurd, and they are so personable, and you would never know, well, this is the powerhouse. Yes, that is Hollywood Bets when you see them or interact with them, and it's just a privilege. And Owen will share one or two of his slogans. One of them that I have remembered is bent, better even next time. And that's the type of a rub they're trying to give the people, not just a bit of financial incentive, but hey, raise your game, elevate the product, be your best, and your business is gonna be better. You're gonna have those ripple effects. So yeah, rubbing shoulders with them, having them as a client, it's certainly elevating. And it's exciting for the future.
Just touching on Hollywood and Ravi, I mean, I'm sure it must have brought you immense joy when you were able to have one of their group successes for the previous season in the form of Asia Pambili when she was in your care.
Yeah, she's a horse that every trainer just dreams of. She's probably the most unlucky horse not to have a Group 1 win under her belt at the moment, and let's hope she gets it. It's nice that she's still going to have the opportunity. But, I mean, yeah, she's just, as an athlete, strong, hard, giving, try her best, sound, and that's testament. I was just taking the cream off the surface with her in Cape Town. Duncan House had built her to that point, whereby, she was problem free, and she had that foundation, and she just honest as the days long. So just a privilege and a pleasure to deal with her, and we just hope to have horses like that in our care. So yeah.
You mentioned that about Duncan Howes. What is so interesting, Hollywood team, it's all about team for them and about getting the job done to the best of everyone's ability, teamwork. And the fact that they, said Durban, she's there, Cape Town, she goes to Gareth, and it was so great to see at the awards, when we're going to talk about the awards just now, that both trainers came up on stage and both enjoyed the team success, and that's typical Hollywood.
Absolutely, yeah. They want everybody to feel the love, and that's the way that you're able to maximize as well. So I worked closely with Duncan with her. I would often phone him, or send him pictures, videos, get his thoughts. And he was it was a 50-50 type of a relationship and arrangement as well. And, I definitely benefited from having that relationship with Duncan. And,
Just talking about owners coming back, the vibe, what's happening in racing. And we mentioned it yesterday, and it was a good day yesterday. And we both touched on it on air and off air. Gareth, I can't help it. I have not get the feeling. I've got the feeling that owners are coming back. People are surfacing. New people are arriving. Syndicates are happening. Rajan and Marlon Naidu, who were out the game for a long time, back in. And I said to him, "Why are you getting back in?" He said, "Well, why not get back in? Now's the time to jump in." And the other gentleman that was there yesterday, Eben, never been racing in his life, and it's just Mr. O'Brien with Robbie Hill. They're all coming back. I mean, how great is that? I mean, you can't help but get excited.
Yeah, well, and you're giving me a great cue, something I would have liked to touch on, and you've opened the opportunity for me to mention a great client that I'm blessed to have from my dad, also Mr. Gary Player, and to interact with a man like him is a privilege. And he's brought so many people, not only back, but also in. I mean, he must be the best marketer of racing in South Africa that I've come across. Because he just brings everybody in, and he's, we're blessed to have friends of his as clients now, who he's just trying and hoping that they have a good experience, so that they might actually, get a taste for racing. And as you say, people who were involved coming back, and I would, don't hold me to it, but in my mind, I would advise anybody to actually breed at the moment, breed a horse, because we're going to the sales and trying to find a nice horse. Don't think that 500,000 is enough to buy a nice horse. If you got the chance of breeding a horse, you got a mare that's half decent, breed with her, because you're going to need a lot of money to buy a nice horse at the sale. And perhaps I know they can't come out anyhow, but perhaps you breed a horse that's decent. It could be worthwhile. So that was advice we would never have given 3 years ago. It was like, okay, don't breed. Like, things are not good, but things are changing, and there's a positive vibe, and it's not easy to buy a racehorse at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
In life in general, I mean, we always have people, that sportsmen especially, that we sort of look up to, and we think, I'd love to meet this person someday. I mean, Gary Player, a name that you mentioned, I mean, magnificent golfer, Hall of Famer, a person that, I mean, if you go back 10 years or 15 years, could you have ever imagined being able to interact with this type of person on maybe even a daily basis?
No, not at all. I remember as a youngster, I was probably around 8, and my dad got an invite to have a tea with Mr. Player and his late wife, Mrs. Vivian Player, and we went with, and I remember that was like unreal. Wow. And now, as a child, you're obviously more starstruck, but I still certainly do not take for granted that I'm dealing with a man who interacts frequently with, the President of America and whoever else on high levels. And, I had him as as a professional athlete, who knows the highs and lows of sport, as a mentor also when I was in Cape Town, when things went like horribly, for me, against what I was expecting. And to have him give me advice and be a mentor and a pillar was, it's a privilege, it's a game changer, and it would have definitely helped. And some of the horses were his, so not only as a mentor, but actually physically helped to leave what wasn't an ideal situation on a positive footing, whereby it could have been looked at as a complete failure. But I don't think that's the impression that was left. We left on a positive note, and thanks to that privileged association, certainly.
Would you ever go down that road again?
I've definitely been tamed. I've definitely been tamed in that my ambition has been made more realistic, which is nice. It's nice in that, my wings were clipped but not broken as such. So we'll definitely be. Look, I'm not gun shy now.
Yeah.
It's not as if my conference isn't altogether broken. We've rebuilt nicely, and I still love a challenge. I'm still sporting, and I don't want to restrict my athletes, the horses, or clients' possibilities. So yeah, we'll be looking at options going forward where it's necessary. But I've come to appreciate home in KZN.
Your base would always, if you had 5 or 6 or 7 that could go and compete in the season, but home's Durban. That's it. There's, as you say, maybe look at it, take it that way, where you could, just raid house a few horses there for the season and come back. But
absolutely,
home is Durban, as you say.
And I'd prefer also, for example, if there were some horses that needed to go to Cape Town for the season, I'd prefer to. I speak to, for example, the Steins, Albert and Pete Stein, who I built a good relationship with, and I'd be able to trust them 100% to be able to help with that, so rather than basing myself.
Yes.
Because, the one thing that's been brought home to me in this is that the family is most important. And you touched on my dad and the important role he plays, and my wife is in the background and taking the pressure with regards to the admin of the business. But that aside, my kids are growing up and they're only going to be at school once, and I want to be a part of their lives. And, whilst there's a lot of change in career and in sport, I want to be there for them. And I used to be probably too career-orientated to a bordering on an unhealthy level, and now my perspectives are more balanced.
When did Dallin, is that right? When did he think to himself, or when did you pick up this young man's as passionate as I am about horses? I'm just wondering, thinking in my mind, off my thoughts out loud, if I should say it all, but I will. And he was drawn to the game. He's my best friend. Like, he's my little, shadow. And he was drawn to the sport, idolizing his dad. And I'm very sensitive of the relationship I have with him. And one day when things got a little bit, I came home from a race meeting in Cape Town, and the horse just didn't run as I hoped, and I expressed my frustration against the wall. And he's a sensitive guy, and he's just like, he drew a line. He's like, no, this is it. And I'm quite respectful of that. I don't know what the future has to hold, and it's wonderful to say like the next generation will follow. But he was exposed to heartache that has changed his perspectives. Okay.
So, as you mentioned, starting off, what does it take to be a trainer? It takes heartache. and devastation at times. And, thankfully I've weathered that, and, we have bright times to talk of now. But with regards to my son, I would be surprised if he follows in my footsteps.
Gary touched on quite an interesting point, is in the sense of, as outsiders, you always see all the good things of horse racing and all the good things of rides and trainers and so on. But it's a bad times when you've got to be strong. And he mentioned a time when he got home, it did not go well for him. And there's obviously that time where you've got to reflect and you think to yourself, how do I bounce back from this? And how do you handle that? I mean, there would have been instances where you thought to yourself, is it really worth it? But as you've grown and as you've matured, I mean, I'm sure that would have improved over time.
Yeah, mental toughness is a huge requirement, and it's something you've got to develop. I compare myself to a football team manager, and as a profession, I think we're very much similar to football managers, and I was in a situation whereby, okay, you bounce back and you be positive, but how many times can you bounce back? How many? Eventually, you ask yourself those hard questions, and for me, the way forward, you say to yourself, okay, well, I'll change this work and I'll change this, and I'm not really one to change jockeys a lot, but your trainers will do that. You change your jockey, you change your food, you come up in order to satisfy your need and give yourself a reason as to how are you going to improve, how are you actually going to do things better. And the nature of our work is you could do anything. You really could do anything. There's so many variables that you could actually identify and pinpoint, and I like to keep it simple. That's obviously easiest. But there comes a point whereby, unless you got an outlet as to say, I'm going to do this in order to get there, you might need to walk away from the game. If you've explored every conceivable option to you, all right, well, this is me. Let me go, whatever it might be, do something else. But thankfully for me, I had the opportunity to resuscitate things as necessary by coming back to KZN, where I'm more comfortable on the training tracks. The training tracks are, they're very different, and my feel for the pulse is a lot more sensitive than what it was. And that comes through years. I've obviously spent many years in Summerveld and getting used to what it takes here. And, I would like to think that I could transfer my trade more readily. But obviously I got to grips towards the end of K-Town, but it's just a different game altogether there. So, yeah, bit of a long story short, but I hope that helps.
No, it's interesting, absolutely interesting. But Gareth, you mentioned tough times, as you did too, and that's why I sometimes bring home the point, and I just is something I feel strongly about, and everybody feels strongly about certain things. But we all in this industry, and sometimes people can get, well, that was a grateful tip. You're a shocking tipster. You don't know what you're doing. That horse is 4 to 10 a good beat. What a bad trainer you are. And that's when the chips are down. We everyone should be saying, hang on, it's okay. Let's unite. Because I saw something on Facebook, and that's why I was on the phone. And it's something that sticks with me. And the comment is that everybody that you meet is fighting a battle that you know nothing about. Be kind always. And that's so true. That run home, and everybody's quick to say, bad this, bad that, take him off the TV, he doesn't know what he's talking about, bad tips. But what about when there were good tips? And what about when there were good winners?
Well, Warren, of those people, how many of them in their day-to-day job actually frequently go through situations whereby they've actually got to take their call and go like this and go, because they've just watched the horse get roll that they expect it to go well, and the blood pressure just goes boom. And you know, it is sport, and we've got to roll. Accept that that's the bad that brings the good as well. What makes the good even better, but just the very few of them that actually earning their bread actually have to deal with those flashes that come whereby it's like, oof, you know. And I think us as trainers, we experience obviously when, okay, the horses just run badly and, you know, you're told your people and whatever, because as a trainer, your business benefits by, not directly by receiving money in the pocket, but when people win, you know, your business benefits. So you want the more people to win, the better. So now you put yourself out there, and that's when you feel the pressure rising, and that also, and all the people you left down. And so for years as presenters, obviously you feel the same thing. You've got a whole, however many thousands of people who, you know, you feel accountable to. So yeah, maybe just take a minute to appreciate that it's actually a physiological thing that happens to us when those horses run down the tubes.
And remember yesterday we spoke to Sean Veal, I mean, Issy Quishy, you know, was red hot. It was the favourite, and it was the punter's choice. And I said to him, you know, you've got the favourite home. We want people to win. You know, we all want to win. You want to win races. We want to win. We all, you know, it's tougher. We do feel it when we don't win, as presenters, as trainers, as owners, as punters. We all feel it. But you know, there's no need to bring each other down while you're feeling it.
And I think the one thing that I appreciated so much, and I'm sure a lot of the public appreciated from Gareth, was that when we did our Whirlpool Gold Cup discussion, Gareth was not shy about giving King Pals a mark.
Yes.
And he said, without sounding too confident, I mean, he would have loved to say 10 out of 10.
Yes.
He did give us a 9 out of 10. And I mean, for punters on a day, on a big race meeting like that, where you want to get involved in exotics and a bit like the Pick Six, I mean, that kind of confidence from Gareth, I mean, it's priceless.
Yeah.
And the horse duly obliged. I mean, that's what you respect from a trainer.
Correct. Absolutely. And another thing about you, and I know you're so humble, you don't like the praise, but we're going to praise you anyway, is you're happy to admit his mistake. Yeah, Cape Town was no good. It wasn't a write-off, but you're back, you reset the button, and you go again. You admit to what's, you know, and that's the only way you can improve. This morning we were chatting to an apprentice who will remain nameless. Just, you know, he had said he'd had a bit of a bad day yesterday, but he admitted it, you know, and he can work with it. If you admit it, you can fix it, you know, and that's the greatest way to success.
Yeah, I mean, for me, my perspective is that, and I've seen the guys who don't see their weaknesses, and then how can they ever fix them? And they don't. They just, you know, in a battle. And you know, for me, if I'm going to improve in my profession, I've got to be. I'm my biggest critic for sure. I've got to be, you know, self-critical, and by doing this, then I can step forward. And one of the hardest things about being a trainer is that you're never free rolling. You're never free rolling. You might have had your best day yesterday. You got to get up today, being Thursday, and address these horses where they are today to get a result next week, next month, whenever it is. And what you do is not the same. You've got to apply yourself. You've got to pick up things. You've got to notice differences. It's really it's tireless. It doesn't give in, and you know, we've got to be at it all the time, and that's why you need a team. But I suppose you also got to have the opportunity to have a little getaway at times, take a little break. And for me, I take it out on the bicycle. I try to ride the bicycle, if not the bicycle at the gym, the stationary bike as much as often.
I was going to ask you what your hobbies are.
Exactly. Just because it's super demanding, but I'm really enjoying cycling at the moment.
I mean, you've touched on things that you do to release pressure. How do you enjoy the moment, and how do you take it all in? 6 winners on a race meeting. That's something that you don't very often. Because 6 winners on an 8-race card, Gareth, I mean, that was a special achievement in its own right.
Now, guide us through that. I mean, starting from when you drove to the races, I mean, did you think I could have 1, 2, and then when it started rolling, I mean, just relive that dream for us.
Yeah, thanks, guys. That was very different to, if I can relate, winning the Garden Province, the the Brentford FC Garden Province with She's a Keeper. So that, or even, for example, when I won the Gold Cup with Paws of Victory, I mean, Des Gonzalez still recalls how, he weighed quite a bit then, and how I just picked him up.
You weighed quite a bit, Des or the horse?
I didn't try to pick up the horse, although maybe in the moment would have tried. But that was different in that that was like euphoric. With regards to the 6 winners on a day, it was like, okay, Richie, you won one. That was nice. First time I won a nice race, had expectations. Second one, okay, nice that first time I also won. Third one was like, okay, I thought, answering your question, I said to the farrier, to Dean that morning, Darren, I said, we might have 3, and that was being, I don't like to be too optimistic, but I thought, okay, maybe we'll have 3. And so as they went on, it wasn't like, wow, like winning a Group 1, but it was like, it was more like gratifying, It was like enjoyable, gratifying, not like a feeling of ecstasy and euphoria, but it was just, I'm selling this game as if it's some kind of a drug, saying these funny words. Sorry, guys, that doesn't sound bad.
It is. We love it. I mean, we've all got the sickness, African horse sickness. We're all riddled with it. But as you say, blessings, because you were given 3 blessings. The 4th blessing came. The 5th blessing. I mean, that wasn't enough. The 6th one came.
Well, now you're touching on a word whereby you say blessings, and that's key to my perspective and to trying to stay humble, because I've had cards which could have probably looked better on paper, whereby the results have been much less. And, for all of that to have aligned, it's so far beyond me. And even with regards to, okay, we credit this and credit that, my dad helping and keeping the fork going. And there's so much more to it. And obviously good clients, and the clients were going faster than they were coming. And so they do come and they do go, and we always appreciate them, and we never know how long the journey is. But there's so much more. My realization has been that it's beyond me. It really is beyond me. And I can't, you go to me now and say, hey, Gareth, go and have 6 winners somewhere, somehow. How am I going to do that?
Yeah.
It's just, we do our best, we hope for the best. And that for me was just a gift and a blessing. And, just remembering that, it's bigger than me.
The awards, we've got to talk about the KwaZulu-Natal Racing Awards, because we're sitting with KwaZulu-Natal's champion trainer. It was a wonderful evening, and it was a wonderful award. You made a lovely speech, and lovely that you were crowned again KZN Champion Trainer.
Yeah, as I said there, and not everyone gets to hear that, so it's worth repeating, but it's something that my dad really wanted for me. He had wanted it previously, and I'd been like, when I was coming second, he's like, oh, we've got unraced horses, let's go. I'm like, no, they're not ready. And he was like, you couldn't believe it. And I do always try to do what's right by the horse first. We had the opportunity, and, we're touching on the 6 winners at that stage of the title race for KZN's Champion Trainer. Garth Puller had a good lead, and it was going to take quite a bit to catch him. And I had started like trying to plan, looking at the program with that perspective, and it was going to be a lot closer than that. But that obviously changed everything, and it tipped things in my favor quite significantly. But it's something which we just thought, coming off what was a letdown, let's build a positive so that we can continue to have positive momentum. And it doesn't hold monetary value winning the championship, but to have that confidence, like I was saying to Michelle Wing, as a platform to operate from, it makes all the difference in the sport. Because when you're making programs for horses, or when you're calling work in the morning, you do it a whole lot better with confidence than not. And having that behind me, it's certainly, it's good for my confidence.
Gareth, thank you for coming to see us and to spend time with us. Just what a great story. You've had us captivated, and I hope the viewers will be as captivated as Raheel and I have been, because it's just been a great story, a great journey. We wish you all the best, you, your family, and your patrons, and absolutely everybody related to you in your business and in your family life. All the best, and keep firing it up.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gareth.
That's it. Gareth Van Zyl. Lovely to talk to him and be with him in his presence. And we hope that you enjoyed this production with him. And after listening to all the stories and how things are done at the Van Zyl camp, clearly it's one way. It's the Van Zyl way. From Warren Lenferner, Raheel Radhakrishna, Gareth Van Zyl, punt well, be safe, be kind. And as always, we will see you in the number 1 box.